And we're live. Welcome to the very first Mapstack podcast. My name's Lawrence. I'm coming to you today from Phnom Penh in Cambodia. I'm with Michael, who's also here in Cambodia, and Chris. So, Chris, if you'd like to give a quick introduction about yourself and say where you are.
Okay. Hi guys, I'm Chris. I'm not sure what my title is at Mapstack. Okay, I'm the CEO and I'm here at the Mapstack office in Bristol, England.
Okay, great. And Michael, if you could give a quick intro as well and say where you are.
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of location, I'm at my jiu-jitsu gym here in Phnom Penh, and I've got very little mapping experience. So, in terms of where I'm at with Mapstack, I've seen a few maps, and I'm vaguely familiar with the interface. So, some of this is new to me also. So, I'm excited to see and learn.
Yeah.
Be
So
fun.
Michael's here. So something you hear us talking about at Mapstack a lot is the unmapped. Okay. So when we're at Mapstack, we're trying to make maps that are available and accessible to everybody and easy to use. Okay. So Michael's playing that role in our podcast. Okay. So Michael's is the non-tech guy. Okay. So I'm the tech
Yes.
guy. I'm the software background, done a lot of mapping. Michael's going to be reacting to the things that we produce.
Yes.
Awesome. So, okay, well, let's get straight down into it, Chris. I think that you made the map that we're going to be looking at today. I think you sourced all of the data. You went through the whole process. You actually recorded it. I'll leave a link for everybody in the chat and in the comments so that they can actually go and watch that video and just to see, the difficulties and of sourcing that data and uploading it into Mapstack and the process you had to go through. But if you could just give like an introduction to the map, what it is, where you got the data from, and a little bit about the process of, say, finding location data, open location data, and actually turning it into a map, that'd be great.
Yeah, so this video that we're shooting today, what this is going to effectively be is a map reaction video. So this is going to a series that we're going to shoot where me or one of the other Mapstack teams going to find some open data, build a new map, and then on this video we're going to open the map and we're going to react to it. The map that I made this week is a map of UK property price data. So I went to the UK Gov website. Found the open data. So this is the page here where I got it. The data always has a 2-month lag here in the UK. I downloaded the data and turned it into a map. That took me about an hour to do. And like Lawrence said, any of you that are interested to see what that process involved and what it looks like, there's another video on YouTube where I live streamed the process of making the map. But what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at what the output is, the output map, and we're possibly going to have a little fun with it, review it, see if there's there's some interesting parts in there. And we're going to take Michael along from the ride. Obviously, Michael, as you can tell from the accent, is from the US. Lawrence and myself are both from the UK. So we're going to throw it over to you, Michael. We've got the map up on the screen here. What sort of stands out to you? For someone who's not familiar with the UK, we're looking at a map of average prices across the UK. What you seeing?
Yeah, so obviously there's everybody's at the bottom, yeah? I guess is it warmer down there or something, or what's the deal there? I don't know. I'd imagine it would be very cold up there at the top, right?
Yeah,
That's why there's no one
Too
there.
far wrong.
It's
Yeah.
colder. The weather in the UK is wouldn't describe any of it as good, but there's like
Okay.
levels of bad, and they're like
Right.
levels, and that definitely goes like south to north.
Yeah, and then I see a big blotch there that seems to be a bit bigger that is in the north. I guess that's what I guess that's their big city there? Or the
It's a
closest thing to a
it's a
city
big
up north?
city. You might have heard of it. So this is London. So we've got these kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
dark purple areas here. So we can see on the legend, we can see that the darker purple areas are the most expensive properties in the UK, and the light are the cheapest. So when we're looking
Okay.
at this map here, yeah, like you said, we can see there's an obvious trend here in the UK that the most expensive properties are in and around London. And then I think if we're zooming out from there, we can see that there are other pockets where the house prices are less. From someone who's outside the UK, another interesting thing to observe is where the population of the UK is. So the population of the UK is most of people, about 70%, are in this. I'm not sure what you call that, like the belly, the midriff.
Mm.
Okay, that's where the population is, and these edge places, like a lot of Wales, Cornwall, the southeast, and large areas of the north and Scotland and Northern Ireland are kind of more sparsely populated.
Is that like farmland or something mostly, or?
Yeah, it's a lot of farmland. I tell you what, let's pull up Google Maps, right? Let's give you some. Let's give you. I think
It'd be
what
good
would
to
be
see
nice
some
on there is
satellite too. Yeah.
yeah. Let's have a look at the satellite. So let's bang that up on screen. So it's gone to Bristol where I am right now. But if we kind of zoom out there, yeah, you can't really see the urban areas, but the road network says it all. We can see it's very busy around there. But the areas that we saw on the map a second ago, so the areas that are quite rural, kind of like Wales here. So North Wales would be quite rural. If we zoom in there just to a random place, yeah, it's kind of what you're going to find.
Oh yeah, plenty of trees, lots
Fields.
of fields. Yeah.
Yeah, but the UK is different to the States. The States, when somebody says in the States, I live just outside of LA, that means that they could be in like an hour and a half away from LA, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Just outside of is like it could be up to a couple hours.
Yeah, a couple of
What
hours.
they mean is that's like the nearest city to them. But yeah, you're like, you're not from LA. You're from
Yeah.
Northern California or something.
The UK, when someone says you're just outside, it's like you're right on top. You could literally drive right across the country in about 2 hours. So if you go from Bristol, where I am, to the other side of London, there a bit more than 2 hours. But yeah, it's not very far. The cities are all really bunched up.
Okay.
So let's so there's three parts that we've got to this map here that we're looking at. So we've got the average price, and then we've got the annual change, and we've got the monthly change. So we were looking at. The reason I made this map of the first one we're doing for Mapstack is we're about to release the product into the public beta, where anyone can make an account in the next few weeks. And for that, I wanted to make a series of kind of content where we can document the process of populating our first Mapstack workspace. So you can think of a workspace in Mapstack as like a channel on YouTube. So that's where our content and our data is going to be. So me and the guys at Mapstack, we're going to be making a new workspace, and I was thinking, what data are we going to put in there? So I wanted to make some maps they basically needed to check 3 boxes. Okay, the first box is they had to be something where open data is available. Okay, so property prices is kind of a good one. I wanted something that's not too local. So property prices are something that's like a big subject everywhere in the world at the moment. Inflation's going up, mortgage interest rates are going up. Property prices are kind of at an all-time high, but a lot of people are predicting they're on a downturn. So it's a subject that's meaningful all around the world. And the third one was I want something that's very topical.
Well, what would be an average, and just to sort of give us a ballpark in terms of like a figure of reference? What is the bang average price across the UK right now?
Okay, so the average price, if we go back to the data that we had there, so these are the headline statistics produced by the UK government, gov.uk. The average price for a property in the UK is £296,000. So in 296 British pound to US. Let's see what that is in dollars, just so everyone around the world gets better. Right, it's about $362,000 is the average. We've seen an annual change of 12.6. So we had this really strange thing happen, and I think it happened all around the world. When we went into COVID and the lockdowns, everyone's thinking, oh, we're going to have this big recession and everything's going to go down. But actually the opposite happened. And I think this happened globally. The house prices kind of went through the roof. Stock prices went through the roof. And there's a lot of theories about why that was happening. The sort of prominent one is that governments decided to offset the economic damage of COVID. They turned the printing presses on, printed huge amounts of money, and that money found its way into various asset classes, and property was one of them. But the interesting thing at the moment is we can see the monthly price change. It's still growing here in the UK. So remember, there's a 2-month lag on this data, but it's only growing by 0.3%. So there's definitely been a slowdown happening. And from what I've seen on the news in the last couple of months, I think when next month's data is released, we're going to see that we're actually in a decline in prices. So that's the trend. So you can think about the UK, 296,000 is the average. So if we go back to our map here, we've got the legend down here. So 296 are the areas in this kind of pinky color here. We could actually do a filter. Let's see, because the best way to think about an average, I suppose, I'm not sure whether that's a median average or a mean, but if 296 is the average, that means half of the properties are more than that and the other half are less. So I think that would be an interesting kind of filter to do on the map, because that would give us a better idea about where they're located in the UK. So let's say average price is less than 296, 2.9 million. That would be so let's see where they are.
Okay, so pretty much everything but London, right? Or like everything.
Well, there's a clear north-south divide there, right?
Yeah,
well, even down to the Midlands and Wales, and then the southeast and the south is just pink stuff.
Now, just out of curiosity, when you guys say North England, South England, where do you put the line generally? Like,
it depends. It depends who you are, Lawrence. You've opened a can of worms there. You've opened a real can of worms.
You said the south and north. I'm like, okay, well, which is which? Because there's an awful lot of north there.
There's an awful lot of north. If you're a Londoner, there's like a running joke in the UK. If you're a Londoner, anything north of Watford, which is, there's a motorway that runs around in all of London called the M25, and at the north end of that there's a large town called Watford. So there's a running joke. Anyone in London considers anything north of Watford the north.
In the Midlands, where I'm from, the north starts at Crewe. That was always the
So Lawrence, you're from the north then?
No, I'm from the Midlands. So places like Stoke-on-Trent and Derby and Nottingham, they're not technically the north. They're more of the Midlands. And then at Crewe, anything north of Crewe is technically the north. That was always what I like. That's how we think of it in the Midlands. I don't know if that's like the definition.
We can see Crewe here. We can see Crewe here. So that's why it's so interesting, because everybody, depending on what region you're from, seems to have a different idea about what the north is. If you start going up north, is wherever somebody is from in the north, anyone who's south of them is a southerner.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how far you go up to Newcastle, anyone south of you're a southerner effectively, until you get to the Scottish border, and then it jumps across. I'm from Bristol. I'm in the west here, so we don't really know where we are. You know, the people from London, we're actually south of London. You know, if you were to draw a line straight across, but I still think Londoners still think of us as northerners in some other way. I think a lot of Londoners, anybody who's not in London's a northerner, even if
it's like more cultural than geographic, huh?
There's a cultural element there. Yeah, so you pointed out the right thing. What you can see in the UK is there's definitely like a kind of north-south divide on those property prices. We can see everything down here is above the line, and then most of the things above. There are some exceptions around York and Edinburgh and places, but the average
places that I've heard of.
Yeah,
those are more expensive.
where have you heard of in the UK? Where are you? Like what I've found with most people is they list the places that have a Premier League football team.
Liverpool, Manchester. You just said York, but the only reason I know that is because it's like New York, right?
Yeah, New York.
Right.
Yeah. Let's take a little look at York. So we can see in York here that the average price for a house there is £329,000, and it grew by 13% over the last year. Also slowing 0.5.
But now we've gone through, say, like an average price, and we've looked at, there's quite clearly a north-south divide with different pockets. Why don't we check out the sort of the extreme ends of the spectrum and check out, say, where are the sort of the cheapest houses, and then probably go to the other end of the spectrum and see where the most expensive are, just so that we can see the full range. So let's probably start with let's try and find the cheapest areas to live in the UK. Maybe we could guess
the word cheapest anymore. We have to say most affordable.
Most affordable.
Most affordable is the keyword in the news. So most affordable.
Most affordable.
Which is something that's really pertinent here at the moment, because most people, young people especially, they can't afford those house prices. You can't get a mortgage from the bank for £300,000. You know, even if you're a young professional and you're married, there's two of you, it's really hard. Housing's very inaccessible at the moment. So something that a lot of people are asking, especially now with remote work, where can I move to in the UK? You know, if I can work from anywhere, where can I move to in the UK that's going to give me a more reasonable house price? So let's take a look at that. So we can see from the legend down here, if we go to the average price, that the price range here goes from about 120,000 up to about 1.3 million average. So let's take a little look on the filter on here, and let's get rid of that last filter. And let's say a place where the average price is, let's say below 130,000. See where we can go. So affordable housing in the UK, where have we got to move to?
Let's see, £130,000, right? That's
£130,000.
Probably 200, close to 200,000. US?
I don't know. Let's have a little go. So 130,000 pounds, British pound to USD, 158
Okay, not as bad as I thought.
thousand dollars.
So that would be affordable even in America,
Yeah, that'd be
for
affordable.
sure.
Yeah, it's affordable in most places. And the maths on the conversion rate was really easy about 6 months ago. The pound absolutely crashed. I don't know if you remember that. We were nearly at 1-to-1 with the dollar. That was
Yeah, we're almost gonna start calling football soccer.
So we got
How many
three.
results?
We got. Oh, sorry.
How many results there? Is there only
Three.
3? Okay.
Yeah, so
Only
we got 3
Wow.
results here, and we can see the 3 results are Burnley, Highburn, and Iverclyde. So I know Burnley. I don't know Highburn and Iverclyde. So let's have a look. So
Isn't that
so
Inverclyde?
Inverclyde. Oh yeah,
In
Inverclyde. Sorry.
Scotland.
Okay, so all right, so these 2 places, the first 2, Hydeburn and Burnley, are right next to each other, and it looks like the winner is Burnley by clear margin by 10,000 pounds. So the cheapest housing. You want affordable housing in the UK? Burnley's the place to go. So anyone who's doing remote work at the moment. So let's go and see what you get in Burnley for 130 pounds. So let's get into Google Maps here. Right, let's go to Burnley. Burnley's in the north of England, but not super north. So let me just zoom out there so you guys get an idea of where we're looking at here. So kind of north of Manchester. So we've got Burnley there. So it's like a mid-sized town. Let's drag the little peg man into Burnley and let's see what you're getting for 130,000 pounds. Random pin drop. Here we are. All right. So here's a random street in Burnley. So this is in the UK what we call terraced housing. So each one of these front doors is a separate house. So that's one house, that one the house. So each house on the front has got house and 2 windows.
Now, is this what you call a flat? Is this a flat? Would that be a flat?
A flat is what you guys would call an apartment.
Okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
so
This is
a
this is
flat
like a
is-
terraced house.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is a terraced house. So in the UK, they'd often call this a 2 up, 2 down. So if you went through the door here, what would happen is that front door would open into a front room, and then behind that there'd be like a kitchen, dining area, and then you go up the stairs, there'd be 2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms.
And then there'll be a bathroom in there somewhere. If we actually zoom out of this, actually I won't do that. We'll do that at the end. But these houses traditionally didn't have inside bathrooms. These are all quite old, these houses. The bathrooms would be at the end of the garden, or sometimes when you had a terrace, there'd be a shared bathroom. They all have their own bathrooms now.
Right.
So yeah, looking in this area here, we can see there's sort of signs that it's maybe a little bit down on its luck. We've got boarded up houses. So let's have a little pan around and see where we are. So there's another boarded up one here. Yeah, so it looks like Burnley at the moment is a little bit down on its luck. There's a little kid here having a picnic.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, another boarded up one. So yeah, all of the houses you can nearly see it there. These terraces all have this laneway down the back.
Mm.
Okay, so this is the common design. So they'll all have a little outdoor space that's behind them, and then there's this common shared laneway that would go down the end. And yeah, my grandmother lived in a house very much like one of these, not in Burnley, but another part of the country. And this would be like in my grandmother's generation, where the women would be outside congregating. You know, they'd be out there, there'd be laundry out there, there'd be things going on. So there's a lot of action happening down these laneways. So yeah, so this is what 130,000 pounds gets you in the UK. Probably a 2 up, 2 down here in Burnley. So yeah, let me zoom out. Let's go on the satellite view. I'll just give you to give you an idea, Michael, about how those laneways work. It's quite interesting. So you can see these are kind of on a grid system, terraced houses. And if we zoom in here, you can see that you've got this this bit at the back. So most of those have been converted now to put an outside a bathroom that's outside, that's actually connected to the house. I know that's what happened on my grandmother's house. But if you went back to maybe a couple of 100 years ago, often these terrace houses, there would be a shared bathroom facility at the end of one of these rows. Okay, so that's how. Yeah. So this is
There'll be a line waiting.
Yeah, because that's the thing with the UK. A lot of housing is very old. You know, the house I live in currently is about 200 years old.
That's wild.
Here in Bristol. So these houses were designed pre-electricity, pre-central heating. So these houses, you can see the chimney on top of all of them. They would have burned coal in order to heat the house. wouldn't have had an internal bathroom, and back when they were first built, a lot of them wouldn't have internal running water either. There'd be a pump system back in these laneways outside. Have you got any experience with any of these, Lawrence? You got any insights about how this type of housing in the UK?
Well, my grandmother, they had the outside toilet. They had coal fire in the house. This is my grandmother. I can still remember her burning a coal fire and having the outside toilet. It was like an old like council house, quite similar to this, but they were detached. They weren't so long, the rows, but yeah, I can remember this within living memory that I think it got obviously it got converted to central heating as I was growing up, but I still remember, yeah, coal fire and an outdoor toilet as well. So I think with all the old council housing, they redid it to implement the central heating and to sort of modernise it, but you still see the older features in some places.
For anyone who's living outside of the UK, just to explain what council housing is state-owned housing. Okay, so in the UK, there's not much state-owned housing. There's a much less, but if you went back, just to say about 70 years, back to the kind of 60s and 50s, I think about 50% of the UK lived in some form of state-owned housing. So this housing would have been built by the state, and you were a tenant. You leased it off the council. So the local government in the UK is called a council. You leased it off of the council, and it used to be. Yeah, it used to be quite affordable. So like Lawrence, I remember my grandmother's house. My grandmother's house, when I was born, had central heating, but when I was young, the bathroom was still outside. You still had to leave the back door and go to where the bathroom thing was. I remember my dad.
Sounds like an adventure.
Yeah, and people wouldn't modify the houses a lot because it wasn't their house. It was like a state-owned house. But there was a big scheme here in the UK in the kind of 70s and 80s where you could buy your council house off of the state for a good price, and then a lot of people started doing work on them then. So my grandmother's one, once she owned it, my grandparents' house, my dad extended the bathroom through to the house so you could go, you didn't have to go outside in winter to go to the bathroom. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's Burnley. So where are we going to go next? So we're going on.
So next door it was number 2 for the.
Number 2. Okay, so let's go and see the second result. So that was in Scotland. So yeah, so this was this area here, which is Iverclyde, which I'm not familiar with, and I've not heard of it. This area. So that usually means in the UK that it's quite rural. When places are more urban, it will be a city name or an urban area, and you'll be familiar with the name. I'm not so familiar with Iverclyde, but yeah, you can get the average price here is £126,000. And that's actually dropped by 2%. So let's have a little look on Google Maps and see what Iverclyde.
Yeah, what's a house looking like in Scotland?
Yeah, what's it looking like? So we can see straight here. This is a very rural area. Looks like it's just moorland here, not even agricultural. Yeah, so we've got some hills. It'd be interesting to see let's see the terrain map. Oh, it's not that much terrain.
Is there a larger town there? Is there any sort of larger?
Yeah, so it looks like there's a couple of
on the coast. Yeah.
Okay.
Coastal towns here, and that looks like a shipyard.
So it's an old shipbuilding.
Oh yeah, it's a port.
Okay, so we've got a port here. We've got that looks like a cruise ship. Is that a cruise? No, it's not a cruise ship, is it? They're not deck chairs. That's it's got a helipad on the top. Okay, all right. So this is Iverclyde. We're in an urban area here. Let's drop Mr. Pegman here. Let's see what you get in Iverclyde. The 120-something thousand pounds. Okay, it looks like you're getting more for your money here.
Yeah.
We can see that they've got front gardens. They've probably got gardens at the rear. A lot more space. Some green space. Okay, so
generally just fuller too. It seems like it's more populated in general. Like there's not so many.
We're not seeing any boarded up. There's no boarded up houses there. And if we switch back to that satellite view and we zoom in, yeah, there's a lot more space here. Like everybody here's got a back garden.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of them have off-street parking. Yeah, so that looks like really good value for money for me. If you can go and pick one of these up here for £130,000, that looks like a good place to live.
Okay, so they're the top 3. We've got Burnley. So we've got both. So there was Burnley, and then next door, it was the council area next door, and then there's one up in Scotland. So on the other end of the spectrum, Where are the least affordable or the most expensive?
All right, all right. I'll tell you what we're going to do with this. We're gonna take a guess. Let's play a little game, and we'll let Michael go first. So Michael, you got less UK knowledge. Let's remove the map. Let's annual change. So Michael, where's it going to be? Get your guess in.
Most expensive?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say like downtown London or something, right?
Okay,
Like,
downtown London.
yeah, I mean, wait, so are apartments factored into this, or are these just like ground floor
It's
house?
the average price, everything. So what's the
Everything,
average
okay.
price of a property? That could be an apartment, it could be a condo, it could be a house, could be
Yeah, I would definitely still
stately home.
say downtown London or something where
Okay,
like
you're going downtown London. Lawrence, what are you going for? Like Lawrence, Michael doesn't know areas of London specifically or areas of the country, so maybe you could get into more detail. What are you going to go for, Lawrence?
Well, I lived in London for 8 years, so when I'm thinking of like when you go to somewhere and you just look at the houses and you're like, wow, this is proper money around here. It's gonna have to be in central London, and it's gonna be somewhere like it's gonna be Westminster, around that type of area, or it's gonna be somewhere like Chelsea.
Chelsea. Okay, so
yeah.
you're going for Chelsea.
Chelsea.
I'm not going to play this game because I actually already know the answer. I was playing around with this map. When I made it, and I did it on the live stream. So it's a competition between Mike. So Michael's gone for downtown. So just to translate that for me, Michael, when I think when in the US when people say downtown, I think of the place where the kind of skyscrapers are.
Right. Yeah. Generally,
But
like
downtown, is like the central business district. It's where the sort of like taller buildings are.
Yeah, it's your tall buildings. Sky bars. If there are houses, it's like a massive villa where some famous person lives or something, maybe. But
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So
that's like pushing East London. That would be like East London around the Gherkin, or it would be down on Canary Wharf, right?
Yeah. So in London, that would be the city, wouldn't it? So it'd be like what we call the City of London. Let's get some images up. So that'd be the city. This is where the sort of like financial hub is. London's not like the US. It's kind of a sprawling city that hasn't been, but that would be the city. And then the other area, what would you call like where Canary Wharf and everything is, Lawrence? The Docklands?
That's like the Docklands, yeah. Yeah, the Docklands Light Railway leads to it, so you probably call it the Docklands, yeah.
Yeah, so Docklands. Yeah, so this is there's a picture there. So there's another sort of hub where there's a lot of tall buildings there. Okay, so Michael was gonna. So which one? Because London's got two of those centres. I was on the wrong screen there. I wasn't sharing with you guys. So if London's got two of those centres, Lawrence, which one would you say was downtown? I think it's got to be the city. Do you think city?
Yeah, I'd say City of London.
I would say the city.
Okay, it's the city then. Okay, so let's get the filters on. So, and some background for those who are not from the UK. Chelsea in the UK is a residential area. Okay, it's a residential area in sort of central London, mainly residential. It's not the city. So, all right. So let's get into this. So we're going to go average price greater than. So what was the range that we had there again? It went up to like 1.3 million. So let's say areas above 1.3 million then. Average. Right. So drum roll, please. Right. It is in London.
Hey.
Central London.
Ooh.
But it's not the city.
Okay, so where's the city? That's the city, yeah?
That's the city. That's what they call the City of London. So
let me east of centre.
Yeah,
I imagined it being in the middle. I don't know why I imagined it being like in the center.
It's just off the middle towards the east. You'll see it's like towards the Tower of London.
Yeah. So this is the City of London.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was imagining. Is like your skyscrapers and where the tourists want to go when they come, that kind of thing.
But what we're looking at here is Lawrence has nailed it. So the winner, 1.3 million, is Kensington and Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Okay, so
so those are going to be your multi-million-dollar homes, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Let's have a little look at what we get in Chelsea and Kensington. Kensington, Chelsea. So let's zoom in on the map. Oh. So Kensington. Let's go in further. I've lost where I was then. Okay, so we're coming in. Steer me around. Right, there we are. So here's Chelsea. Here's the area of Chelsea and Kensington. Here's the River Thames. So we're gonna drop little stick man. Let's drop him on this little arc here. Let's see what we're working with.
Right. Okay.
All right. So here
Is that
we
a
are.
house?
Yeah, that's a house. This is actually,
One
Michael.
house.
We're going to test you. This is two houses joined together.
Okay.
What do we call those in the UK?
Shit. Semis.
Semi. It's a semi.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I did it.
even the
did it,
elite live in semis. Even the elite live in a semi. So this is two houses. You see, we've got number 22 and number 23. So in this area, this is 1.3 million is the average, and this is the kind of place where you got your Bentley parked on the driveway.
Of course. Why
Like,
wouldn't
look at that. Yeah, you wouldn't be seen be seen dead in a Porsche or a Mercedes. You know,
that Mini there is probably someone's kid's car, right?
Yeah. That's the nanny.
That's the cleaner. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the nanny there.
All right. Now, Lawrence, you've got more experience with London than me. Now, in this area, the average is 1.3 million. Now, one thing I'm absolutely sure of is these are these Georgian, Lawrence? These age this. So
I have no idea.
Yeah, these are what you call a Georgian townhouse, and these are actually huge. Even half of them are very large houses. This will be like 9 bedrooms, might even be indoor swimming pools and things. Now, what I know from London is that will not be 1.3 million, not even close. That will likely be. What do you think, Lawrence?
I reckon you're talking at least 3.5. At least.
I think we're getting closer
I'm
to
gonna guess
10.
5. Yeah, I'm gonna guess 5 there in the middle.
I think we're getting closer to 10. I've had this TikTok. I went down this rabbit hole on TikTok, and there's somebody who goes around London showing the most expensive properties, and I've seen places smaller than this in this location. Well, not that that's small, but smaller than this for like 7+.
Wow.
So what's this called? This street's actually called the Boltons in Kensington. So let's see if we can find a house for sale in there. House for sale.
You guys use Zillow?
Boltons. We've got it's called Rightmove here. Kensington, London. Rightmove, properties for sale in the Boltons. That's the wrong Boltons. There we go.
Ooh. Is that 20
18 million pounds. Even I was low.
Good Lord.
Right. Okay. So let's see what 18 million pounds gets you in central London. Let's just have a flick through. And this one's only got one parking spot. That's not as nice as the ones we were just looking at in Street View. Let's Street View here. You get 3.
Wow.
And it's
Yeah.
3 windows across. So this one here.
Change my guess.
This is a semi again. You don't get all of that. You get this half. So you get this half. So this isn't as grand as those. So let's look at this. This is 18 million because this is just mind blowing. A smallish garden. Small when you're paying 18 million. That's all I'm going to say.
Sure, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Front
18
room with a
million will
couple
get you an
of
island,
fireplaces.
yeah?
It's nice, but 18 million?
What would you say? It's
just
quaint? What's the
Yeah,
nice
quaint.
way to put it?
Yeah,
Very
quaint
quaint.
would be the right word. Let's have a look at the floor plan here. So with these houses, you actually get a lot of floor space because they're split over multiple floors. This will have 4 floors. There'll be a kind of basement level and different ones. But yeah, 18 million is
Heavy, man.
that's heavy. That's heavy. Yeah. Yeah, I would love to hear the belly laugh if I went into my bank and asked what the mortgage would be on that. Get out of here and never come back.
Like, sir, you can't make the first payment, so
Yeah, so that's a pretty impressive house. Okay, so that's if the average is 1.3 million and that's 18, one of these is 18 minimum. That means there's some cheaper housing in this area, and we're going to find it, right? So let's say we want to move to Chelsea and Kensington on a budget.
on the fringe. Where's the
saying,
budget
Lauren?
part of Chelsea?
Are you moving like north out of Kensington, more towards the which park is this? Kensington Gardens. Do you think you're moving? It gets cheaper as you go into Kensington, and or do you think it's the other way, move towards the river?
Oh,
I think towards the river is going to be more expensive, right? Because you're going to have all
Yeah,
of the
I would say.
expensive riverside apartments and stuff.
I
Okay.
would guess when you're
Then again, that's
barely
a
in the
guess.
town. Yeah.
Let's try and find you. Often we can see from a map where like that looks quite tight in there, doesn't it? Let's see what the small that looks. There's some tight housing in there. Let's drop the pin in there. Let's see what we're. Oh, you can't even get in there. It's off limits.
That's walking only, yeah.
Ah, okay. Here we are. So
Yeah, this
so
looks cheaper.
these are what we would call flats. There's this really interesting thing on Google Maps where you can have your house blurred out for privacy, and there's quite a few of them around here. There must be like a, once you reach
As
a
soon
certain
as someone
level,
figures out that you can do it, then they just want to do it, right? It's like, look, I can blur my house on Google Maps. I will.
maybe it's like an unlock, like in a game. Once your bank account hits a certain level, then it's just one of
They
the
just turn
fringe
a filter
benefits you
on.
get. Your house gets blurred out on Google, and you. Yeah, so we got these flats here. We got these flats here in Chelsea. So I'm guessing this is what's going to average the price out. I would say what's probably happening. There's lots and lots of these, and they're probably like sub-million. So that's what's bringing that average down.
Kensington runs all the way up past Notting Hill, past Bayswater, and then all the way up
So
to
that's
North
where the
Kensington.
cheaper houses are, because
So it's probably Ladbroke Grove, around that type of area, and then Shepherd's Bush as well. I think the houses get a little bit cheaper that way
Okay.
as well.
All right, so
it's not about Knightsbridge and Chelsea. They're all, I would say, very, very expensive, probably in those millions.
All right, so there's Ladbroke Grove. Does that still fall in the area? It's like it seems. Oh,
Yeah, it does,
so
yeah.
it's right on the edge.
Yeah, it goes all the way up to North Kensington. So Ladbroke Grove's there, a bit of Shepherd's Bush. It's going to be that way, I would imagine.
What they tried to do here in the UK, which is pretty cool, is they try to mix up the housing. So they'll put very public housing next to expensive housing to stop, the like us versus them type of thing. They tend to mix up the neighborhoods, which is kind of cool.
Does it work?
Oh, sorry.
Does that work generally? Like,
Yeah, generally. But the problem is the prices go up, and then the gentrification happens because the people that are in the affordable housing just sell it because it's expensive.
Right.
Move to Iverclyde and buy a street.
Right.
I think we actually leave the area as soon as we cross the A40. That seems to be the bounds of Chelsea and Kensington. So I think if we go back to this, if we go here, so we've got the train lines. We've got the train lines here. Oh no, that's the A40 there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this area between A40. So let's have a little look around here. So there was that famous story. Where did that Grenfell Tower happen, Lawrence? There was a famous story here in the UK where
that was in what's it called?
Okay. Anyway, let's drop another pin in here.
It's sort of north.
We're trying to find where the houses in this area that bring the average down are, so they're all still nice. I think we're really going to struggle in Chelsea and Kensington to find.
Oh, it's there. It's there. It's just by Latimer Road, so it's actually So it's actually in this zone by Notting Hill.
Okay,
yeah, I was going to say you see some scaffolding there. It looks like maybe there's some renovations and stuff
Latimer
going
Road.
on.
So help me on the map. Help me on the map, Lawrence. Where am I going?
So zoom out a touch. Is that the Westway there? That road?
Yeah, that's the Westway.
Okay, so it's just south of the Westway, just a little bit, where the Westway meets the A320 going south. So there's a big roundabout, and then the road south, and then just off there. So yeah, just zoom out.
Tower. It will be here because Grenfell Tower.
Yeah, that's
right
it.
here.
Yeah, that's it there. I think.
So we were just talking about. There was a really big story in the UK of. I'm not sure if you can see the tower here. It's hidden behind this building. Maybe they've demolished it now, but this was, kind of what in the States you call a housing project. And the tower block burned down. A lot of people died inside the tower block, and it opened a really interesting debate here in the UK about the build quality and the fire safety of some of the public housing, and also cladding. So what they've done in the UK to try and make some of the public housing and these council flats more presentable is they dressed them up on the outside with this plastic cladding that gave them kind of colours and made them look cool.
But they're highly flammable.
Turns out this cladding's highly flammable. So
Sounds about right.
Yeah, this block burned down. A lot of people died. It was a real tragedy. And then the government put a law in that all of this cladding had to come down. And there was billions. All of these buildings that had been refurbished, they had to pull all of it off. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is more sort of public housing.
Be it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is more public housing here. I think that's the Grenfell Tower, the one that burned down. Looks like they're rebuilding it. Yeah. So All right, so we've done a fair bit in London. Okay, so if you've got £10 million burning a hole in your back pocket and you're looking for something to spend it on, then take a trip down to Chelsea and Kensington, and speak to your local estate agent. They'll be able to hook you right up. Maybe let's get a little bit closer to home now. Let's get a bit closer to home. Let's look at where Lawrence and me are from. Okay, so where should we start? You want to start, Lawrence, or should we look at Bristol?
Yeah, so if you want to go to Bridgnorth.
Okay, so we're gonna come here now. We're gonna go to
So it'll be Shropshire will be the county, or the council.
Is Bridgnorth one word or two?
It's one word and there's no E. Bridgnorth.
There we go, Bridgnorth, Shropshire.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so here we go. So this is your hometown. So what are we looking at? Tell us about the place. Give us some history. Give us some background. Where was your first kiss? Which one of these streets here?
Let me just zoom in.
It's like, wait a minute.
Well, yeah, so if you see so it's got the big black line down there. So that's the river, and that separates the low town from the high town because
were you on the high or the low?
I was on the high side.
Lawrence is on the high side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the high side is up on a huge cliff, and then we actually have the only inland cliff railway in the country, which is basically a railway that runs up this big cliff which separates high town and low town. Because it's perched up on this large cliff, and it was another interesting fact. If Hitler would have invaded the UK,
yeah,
his HQ was going to be Bridgnorth because it reminded him of the Black Forest apparently, and it was in the middle of the country, and it's on a very high vantage point. So that was apparently the war plan, and there's also a castle within Bridgnorth that leans as much or more than the Tower of Pisa. And that are my 3 tidbits about Bridgnorth.
Okay, so
I think every Bridgnorth person knows.
Let's get on to the house price here. So £280,000. Is that above average in the UK? Where was let's get the data back. 296, so a little below average. But I love the high town and the low town thing. It reminds me of the song, what is it? I'm an uptown girl.
Yeah.
Living in there'd be some great Romeo and Juliets there. The story doesn't work when you're in high town though, Lawrence. The Disney film variety is you've got to live in low town. It's like Aladdin. I'm down there and I'm kind of down on my luck, and I work at the bakery, and the princess lives up here on the castle, and
the Leaning Castle.
Yeah, the Leaning Castle. All right, so let's get on Google Maps. Let's have a little look at Bridgetown. Bridgnorth, sorry.
Bridgnorth, yeah.
Bridgnorth.
To the only one.
Yeah, it looks like the only one. So there we are. So is this the cliff here?
So that's the cliff, and then you see the bridge over the river, and then to the left of that, where your cursor is now, so that's Hightown, and that's up on the hill, the cliff, and then you'll see Lowtown is on the plains.
Right. So let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at Bridge North. Okay. Wow, that's nice, isn't it? Look, rural England.
Oh yeah.
It's very
That's
nice.
the train.
That's the inland. So that's on a cliff. So it'll take you all the way up the cliff. I think it's the only one in the country that's inland.
What is that? Like
all
a 45-degree pitch? It goes up. I've never seen a
Yeah,
rail
so it
car
goes
go
up a
up
very
that.
very steep. It's like so it's a railway that goes up a cliff.
That's wild, man. I've never seen that before in my life.
I went on with something
there's not
similar. They
many
got one
of
in
them.
Hong Kong. There's one in Hong Kong that goes up into the mountains there.
Okay.
But in Hong Kong, they haven't tipped the whole cart like that, like the 45 degrees. The cart still goes straight, but the seats are on the 45. So you can take these really funny photos where you're standing in it and it looks like you're just kind of pitched over like this. It's like a famous required selfie shot. If you're an avid Instagrammer and you're in Hong Kong, you got to go there and you got to take that selfie. That's the default pick. Okay, so yeah, it looks like a very nice part of the world. All right, now let's swing to Bristol, or as it's known here in the UK, known locally, Brizzle. People like to not pronounce their T's here. All right. Okay. So here's Bristol. It's in the southwest. It's about an hour and a half from London. There's a motorway all the way, or about an hour and a half on the train. There's about 1 million people, something live in the Bristol area. So let's have a look at the house prices. So Bristol, the average price here is £362,000. so it's above average. Bristol's kind of a cool city at the moment. London's getting too expensive for a lot of people, so there's a big pouring out from London, and Bristol's been one of the beneficiaries of that. It's like you call it like a mini London. What's also cool with Bristol is it's got some very nice rural areas surrounding it. If we actually go, an interesting one, if we look to this annual change map, the dark purple are the places in the UK that have gained the most value in their property, these dark purple ones. Most of those are very places of what you call like outstanding natural beauty. So this is the Cotswolds up here around Gloucester, North Devon, South Devon. If we zoom the map out, the Shetland Islands in Scotland. And I think the reason with that is COVID. When COVID was happening and everyone gets sent home to work, everybody thought, I want to bug out to the countryside. I want to have a cottage in the countryside. I don't really want to be in a city anymore. So Bristol's nicely situated. It's on the Severn Estuary here. Some nice places around it. Let's see what Bristol comes up. I bet the first picture is going to be the Clifton Suspension Bridge. Yeah, there you go. So there's Bristol. That's the world's first suspension bridge, built by Brunel. Lawrence knows that because Lawrence was here visiting over Christmas, and you stayed in a hotel, didn't you, Lawrence? That was just
so overlooking that bridge. It's a wonderful view of the bridge.
Can you still drive over it? Like, is it still usable, or is it just a tourist attraction?
Yeah, you can drive over it. They charge you £1 though.
Oh, that's worth it,
every
man.
time.
Every time. Right?
You got £1 to go across it, or otherwise you've got to drive all the way around here, and it's to keep the riffraff off of it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, keep the riffraff away. Yeah, so it's a beautiful bridge. There's a big cliff.
Yeah, and then but over it, isn't there? That's when you just get into the countryside, right? It's just fields. Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It's one of the reasons Bristol's quite popular, or that part of Bristol. So where that bridge is, you've got this river here that's called the Avon Gorge. So you've got the city here. You can see all of the urban part of it, and then you've got that bridge that we were just looking at, the Clifton Suspension Bridge, and then on this side it's just countryside and woodland. So it's really interesting to be able to just go from like city to countryside that quickly, just because there's this causeway in the middle, which is kind of nice. I live in an area of Bristol called Clifton, so let's drop a pin around there. Clifton's kind of a lot of old Georgian townhouses here. Yeah.
When you guys say Georgian, you said that earlier. What does that mean, Georgian?
The period of King George. So they name periods in this country after. So you have Elizabethan, Georgian.
I've heard of Elizabethan. The Georgian I hadn't heard before. Okay, that makes sense.
So a Georgian. Let me get on Google down here. So a Georgian.
Good old.
My spelling is terrible. Georgian. Oh. Georgian. But there's a specific style. These are called Georgian townhouses. So we saw a lot of those. What we were looking at in Kensington, a lot of those houses are from that period as well.
Okay, then. So I think that's probably time for a wrap up. Chris, if you want to maybe just tell us about what's coming up next week and the weeks after that, because obviously this is the first one. We're still trying to learn in the process, so it'd be good to sort of hear exactly what's going to be coming next and what people can expect, really. So
what I want to be doing in this video segment is I'm going to be making more maps using open data and uploading that stuff into Mapstack, and I want to cover more areas of the world. So we're going to be building a workspace with house price data, and I think what we're going to do in the next show is we're going to go across the pond. Okay, I'm going to go across the pond. I'm going to go and look for some open data. I'm not sure about the whole of the US. Maybe I'll look for some states. Where you're from North Carolina, aren't you, Michael?
Yeah, North Carolina.
Maybe I'll look for North Carolina, or that. What would that section of the US be called? Is that the South? Is it?
Yeah. So it's just below the Mid-Atlantic. They call it the South, but it's sort of like on the border of the two. But generally, it's pretty interesting what's going on around there, because if you just go just above North Carolina, you got Washington D.C. area, and then you got Tennessee next door, and then down to sort of Florida down below us.
Okay, so that's what I'm going to do in the next video. I'm going to try and pull some data from the States, and we'll have a little play around with that, so we can flip it around. Michael's going to have the local knowledge, and then me and Lawrence will ask questions, and we'll pull it apart.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay then. Well, thank you for watching, everybody, and we will see you again at the same time next week. Have a good week. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.